Episode 6, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, damn, six already?
Ooh, six pack, six pack.
Welcome to episode 6, and we are
Best
going
intro
to
ever.
go into a time warp back to 2001, which is 19 years ago. Can you believe that? 19 years ago.
Oh,
We're also
God.
going to go through some Halloween trivia in the spirit of Halloween and our most memorable Halloween moment next on The Hyper Nerd's Revenge. All right, guys. Episode 6. Can you believe we're on episode 6 right now?
unbelievable.
All right, so the three of us have just discussed we have no significant updates for Dad Life. So again, we're gonna skip that segment for today. Other than, we all almost missed last week's episode because of our kids.
Yep,
But,
dad life through
Dad,
and through.
Dad Life, man. All right,
Real life.
Dad Life, real life. You know what I mean? So, again, we're gonna go through and time warp back to 2001 in our throwback segment. So let's get the graphic up for that. All right, guys. What is your other than we know what happened in 2001. We know 9/11 happened in September 2001. Other than that, what is your most significant memory of 2001 before we go through the video?
Mine's kind of sad. So I don't know if I should go first, but I will.
Sure.
My most significant was when Aaliyah died before, 9/11. So it was really like a month before. I told Maris the story, but I was traveling back from Austria that year, competing for Team USA.
Yeah.
And people didn't hate us
Will's a
completely.
martial arts champ. So,
Yes, sir.
Ace.
I am.
in case you didn't know.
Hiya!
Just like that. How'd you know?
I need a robe so I could walk around like this.
Tighten your belt all the time.
Yeah.
Side note: doesn't this just
Put my
walking around?
fingers on my belt.
I feel martial already. Where's my beard, man?
Oh my god! All right, continue, Will. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Will.
I just fit right into the stereotype too. I went with it. Yeah, so in Austria, I remember I was like, okay, I need to go on the internet. I haven't been on the internet in like days. I need to check my AOL email.
AOL email.
Oh
Wow.
my god! Wow.
Mister, you got mail. So I went there, and then I got those AOL like emails or whatever that notifies you the news, and it said Aaliyah died. I'm like, no way, this isn't real. And then I loaded up a video. There was like a 30-second video that took like 4 minutes to load.
Oh.
And so I watched it. I was like, oh my gosh. And we were about to fly the next day. I was like, and
Yeah.
then that happened.
Yeah. My experience with that is me and Jeff Almignana. Shout out to Jeff if he's watching this.
That name's so familiar.
Yeah, you met Jeff. He's part of my Godfather crew.
I love you have a crew, Godfathers.
Yeah.
So badass.
We were at work, and we had gotten the news, and that Aaliyah passed away, and she had been kind of in my top 3 of that of that era, and I was just like, oh man, and I couldn't function for the rest of the day. You can ask Jeff. I was just so distraught, taking out
Yeah.
orders and fulfilling orders and our room service orders. I was just so down for the whole day. But I don't want to go. That's not my significant memory. 2001. What Ace? I'm gonna go with you next for that.
Wow. That's hard.
2001 was a
Choose.
big year.
Yeah. 2001 was one of those life-changing, life-impacting kind of year. Maris, if you remember, my grandmother had passed away
Mhm.
that summer. Took an emergency trip to the Philippines, and that would be my last trip to the Philippines, and that was pre 9/11, and kind of came back home, and within a few weeks time, and kind of like set off like a very fun end of the summer leading into September. Everybody knows what happens, but I think that's when we started hanging out more, hooping, and the rest is history. That kind of like set the tone for the rest of the decade as far as our relationship goes, and you know that was like the start of like watching our circle of friends grow. Um, so I know it's not one moment, but um, certainly a series of moments that kind of impacted the beginning of our early adulthood, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think 2001 was our trip to Wildwood, was it not?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's one. That's what I'm referencing.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
2001 was a big year for me. I think just like you said, Ace, in building kind of our circle, of friends that kind of is endured uh, throughout now. This endured 19 years of um of going through like stuff that we've gone through. We early adulthood and now into dadhood, and for some of us, just maturing the way we have in the last 20 years started in 2001. It was the start of kind of our adult life.
yeah,
I had just turned 20. For you had just turned 21, right?
yep, yep,
We started just doing adult, quote unquote, adult stuff. We were going to clubs. We were going to
yeah,
clubs. We were going, late night dinners,
yeah,
just hanging out, playing ball, and just like building is the building block of where we are now as
yeah,
friends, best friends, if so to speak. And it, I had my first quote unquote serious girlfriend in 2001. It was a big experiential change for me. Uh, and as far as just forming relationships is big. Other than the other like pop culture stuff that happened, I remember 2001 being the year I felt I was like becoming an adult, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
Coming of age.
coming
For
of
you
age.
guys.
That's
Coming of age.
coming
Yeah,
of
it was
age.
like
Yeah,
coming of age year, and I just also want to add that like those life impacting moments, with my grandmother passing away, kind of like changed something or transforms like my way of thinking. I wanted to try different things. I think
Mm.
that's when I truly started to get into working out more and learning more about it. The video that we'll watch, there's a snippet of the Strokes. I was telling Maris earlier, I was watching it and I was like, okay, it's 10 minutes in, no snippet of the Strokes, and the Strokes is a band that kind of like reinvigorated my interest in like alt garage rock that sounded like 80s new wave rock, like Shades of Joy Division, and kind of like influenced many other bands that came after them. And that was that's a story for subsequent years. But
yeah.
yeah, we'll touch on that
We also
when we get to those years.
we were also into the hip hop scene a lot up until
Yeah.
then, and then yeah, 2001 is also where my music taste also started to change.
Hmm.
And I probably wouldn't have known who the Strokes were if it weren't for Ace. But a lot of things for me shifted as far as trying new things, watching different movies. That's why I'm
Yeah.
such a movie nerd. Watching different movies, trying out different music, um, trying on different clothes. The way we dressed back in 2001 was totally a trip. And then
Yeah.
Everything's baggy.
yeah, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
subsequently though, as Ace and I and Jeff started going to car shows, we started going to car shows around then. And
Yo,
then
that scene was wild.
It
You
yeah,
really
was. It
think
was.
about that scene.
because 2001, Fast and Furious is the one comes out, and
Really?
all of a sudden, and it's in the video I think, and
I
all of
can't
a
wait.
sudden, there's this car, and was probably there before, but Fast and Furious kind of probably brought it to the forefront. But all of a sudden, the girls we were with wanted to go to car shows. Ace, I, me and Jeff just wanted to go to car shows to see the to see the import models.
Sasha Singleton, baby.
Import models were the thing.
Import tuner, best
Import
magazine
tuner.
ever.
Yup.
Yeah.
The same.
Oh man.
I still have some of those in in storage somewhere.
So I remember that.
Oh
I
man.
remember that Sasha Singleton signing we went to in
Yeah, I do too.
in was it the
Secaucus.
Convention Center. Yeah.
Yeah, Meadowlands Expo.
Oh man, we have video of that. I'm not gonna get into that.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, there was that. That was a big wow. The car scene. Whew.
That was it was the Civics from that year are still way overpriced to this date.
I remember
The Civic EX Coupe. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's pop into this video. So Ace, the way we did this last week was we're gonna play the video. Anything that is remotely like nostalgic, we're gonna pause and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's anything that just need to just mention. We don't have to stop the video; just mention it real quick.
Okay.
But anything that was super significant, we'll pause it and we'll talk about it, and then
Got it.
just go through the whole thing. Last week's 16-minute video took us to about an hour and a half of content.
Ooh. Wow.
So I haven't posted that video yet. I'm gonna post it tonight, and then this one's gonna go up. This episode, if you guys are watching right now, is gonna go out on Halloween Day.
Ooh.
So Saturday it'll be up. So we're gonna have two episodes almost back to back.
Let's go.
Nice.
I also do want to give credit to the person that made this video on YouTube. It's KH Jedi Master. And last year's video was published in 2015. This was published in 2017. And I don't know why he doesn't have more views on this, but it was
We were saying that last
good
week,
video.
man.
Yeah.
These videos should be at millions at this point. I don't know why they're not.
Yeah, and coincidentally, he posted this on my birthday in 2017. Nice.
Perfect
All right.
circle.
All right, guys. So this is remembering 2001, and here we go. The GameCube came out in 2001. Alien Ant Farm. What movie is that? I don't know what movie that is. With
I don't have any
I
audio.
don't know either.
Let's see.
2001. Remember. There we go.
I'm pausing that. Smallville came out in 2001.
Yep.
That was
I said last
Epic
week
series.
my all-time celebrity crush, Kristen Crook.
baby.
2001, she's my heart.
so.
I had the DVDs, bro.
Wow. I didn't. So 2001, I still had a VCR, and I still taped everything. And this was one of the shows I taped the most. Smallville. First of all, it was Superman's origin story, quote unquote, or just a different take on Superman's origin story. And Kristen Crook was, for lack of a better word, was the ish back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no denying it. I think everybody had a crush on her specifically because of this show, and I think this was
Her character more than anything. Actually, I like the character because I don't even know who she is. I loved the Lana Lang character
yeah.
Yeah.
she portrayed.
There was that theme song is iconic. This show is still iconic. It was the longest running show on the CW for a very long time. I think it just got beat out just recently by Supernatural.
Wow.
Because this show lasted 10 seasons. Who knew like this was gonna last that long?
No idea.
Yeah.
The first the first 4 seasons were the best, and I think then everything just started to drag out.
Kind of coasted.
Tom
Yeah.
Welling also, I think, is the best 2000s quote unquote Superman.
Agreed.
Compared to Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill's kind
That's
of getting there.
why.
You don't think? And we'll move on. We'll see when the Snyder Cut comes out.
Gorillas, baby.
Gorillas was a thing
Love Gorillas.
for me. Yep.
Peaches and cream.
Fresh,
I love that.
fresh new sound.
Yeah, Gorillas was a big game changer for my musical taste. Also, the 112, that video, 112, that was I think their big year.
They blew up after that.
They blew up after that
Yeah.
specific song. I remember
That was. Sorry.
we went to go see them in concert at Great Adventure.
Mm.
It was them. It was oh my god, I'm blanking. Jagged Edge.
Wow, they collaborated with.
No, it was, they were on the same bill. They're the same. So Jagged.
That's what I'm saying. That's Bad Boys, and it was.
Yeah, it was
So Def.
It was them, Jagged Edge. There's another
Wow.
group there. I forgot that we weren't there.
Bad
to
Boys
see.
and So Def collabed. Interesting.
Yeah.
I got another throwback memory for you for that song. That was my background music that I had my friend program into my Zynga
Oh my god.
Zynga.
Zynga sites.
with a custom Bruce Lee skin developed by my other
That's,
friend.
Oh my god.
That's definitely something to discuss for 2003 and 2004.
Yes.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
But that was what was that when Zynga came out, or was that Zynga like a little? Maybe it was senior year.
No.
That
So
I
remember,
brought it back.
we're older than you. So
I think it was around, but I don't think it was widely
it
used
wasn't-
until like 2003, 2004.
you gotta remember we're gonna be getting into.
It's a
First
little
of all,
murky.
we're gonna be getting into when we made Angel Fire sites and Zanga. When we go through subsequent episodes of this, I remember I made an Angel Fire site, I made a Zanga, I had a Friendster. There's a bunch of just technology
What was
that none
the
of these kids know about now.
You're beginning to see the elements of what we enjoy now through various social media channels kind of evolving.
We need to take personal responsibility as a generation for ushering in what has it's kind of like gotten so murky in the internet nowadays. We like welcomed it with open arms.
Yeah, because it was something. It was different, man. It was
Now realizing what we were grasping, and it was like,
boy.
oh man, what do we do?
All right.
Our kids are gonna hate us.
So this movie's Black Hawk Down.
Shut up.
Big year for J-Lo.
Exactly.
Is that when she became J Lo? You know what I'm saying? Like she was from Jennifer
on the
Lopez to J-Lo.
on the 6th.
On the sixth. This was her big debut album, right? No, this was after. Was this? Yeah, this was.
That thing was huge. That album.
That album was
I
huge
forgot
for
how
her.
many it sold. I'm gonna Google it while you guys talk about it.
You remember? At this point, she had been remembered as a fly girl. Her acting career was starting to take off,
Mhm.
and then nobody knew that she was going to go do music, and she came out with this album, and totally became A-list after that. Like this album was. This is, I think, if you wanted me to pick a Jennifer Lopez album, this was the original. First one was the one that I would always listen to. This album had a bunch of hits.
Yeah.
Not only this, Play was a big hit. The previous one, Waiting for Tonight, was a big hit. It's from 2000, and I think, barring this is pre Ben Affleck too, so
Yeah.
everything was looking up for her.
So it went on 6 went on to sell nearly 3 million copies in the US, being certified triple platinum, and over 8 million copies worldwide. And honestly, whoever shot that album art deserves a lot of credit. I think a lot of reason people bought that album is because that album art was like so drawing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
You know?
Scorpion King. Will, your reaction to that made me stop the video, so you better say something.
What was that? E-Bombs World, or they those two characters? If you
That's
go back,
not E-Bomb's World. It's Homestar Runner.
but what site was it hosted on though?
It was their own site. It was you can find it on E-Bombs World, which again is another site that's still around now in
Is it
2020. Yeah, it is.
That was a bad site. They ended up blocking in my school.
Well, so E-Bombs World can be considered a precursor to YouTube because they had all the viral clips on there.
That's why it got banned.
Remember, there's no YouTube yet back then in 2001. We still actually watched music videos. The Video Music Awards were still a thing back
Yeah.
then.
Mm-hmm.
And getting viral clips on the internet was something of a rarity.
And that
Compared to
one
now.
of the first ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Forgot about that.
2001 is not. Mummy 2 came out, which introduced us to The Rock's debut as a movie star, which
Still plays the same character
compared to
this day.
stop it. Compared to now, he's the highest paid actor in the world. Who knew from back then, from playing this role, that would evolve into what he is now? It's crazy.
Agreed.
The most followers on Instagram.
Say it again.
Yes.
Yes.
Most followers on Instagram.
Most followers on Instagram. Male followers.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Most followed male on Instagram, I think, is the. But
think-
whatever.
How many records is this guy gonna
Overall.
break before?
I don't-
Like, man, how many more records can Rock break? It's not fair.
Was this Glitter? This clip that's on there? Mariah Carey's movie that bombed.
Never watched it.
Never did. Neither did I. Good thing.
What a great year for R&B.
Was that her debut?
That was her debut. That was
great
2001 was her debut.
Wow.
Can you believe
That's
that?
wild. I cannot believe that. Wow.
Kids, appreciate us for what we get to let you experience.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Alicia. So for up until this point, I had on my list music wise from my favorite artists was Aaliyah, Maya, and then when Alicia came out, she was the first one that I saw playing her own music and singing along to her own songs from this era. Maya didn't do that. Aaliyah didn't do that, even though her songs were dope. But I knew that she was gonna be something even when this song came out. It was like wow, because the talent level was different. He had to say, even from that one song that we just saw, the talent level
Yeah.
for her that you saw was just a little bit different from all the other R&B acts that were out there.
Because she also had like that gravitas too. So the fact that she could be a performer and she could actually sing at the same time helped a lot. And she had a big impact on our culture because the fact that she did movies as well. By doing like stuff like Romeo Must Die. Come on.
Oh yeah,
Come
you're
on.
talking about, yep. Okay. All right. Something we didn't talk about in the pre. Lord of the Rings came out in 2001.
Unbelievable.
Lord of the Rings, and I think later in this video you're gonna see. I'll spoil it. Who cares? Harry Potter. Two huge franchises debuted in
Wow.
2001, and didn't have, other than if you read the books, didn't have any clout going forward. These two movies changed pop culture for us for the next 19 years going forward.
Yeah.
It was a
Without a doubt.
huge debut.
Yeah. When it appears, I've got something to say about old Harry.
So before we get there, though, Lord of the Rings. What kind of an impact did this have on you guys?
It kind of set the tone to be a huge fan of Game of Thrones. Kind of like being able to get in the headspace of enjoying this kind of content, of this kind of a portion in mythical sense, was huge. And being able to sustain this momentum through really, was it 3 movies, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it was 3 movies for 2001, 2, and 2003, all back to back.
And just kept building the hype.
Yep.
I remember even being willing, and I forgot who it was with, but I did actually, my local theater did the marathon of all 3 Lord of the Rings, back to back to back.
Damn, that's not.
I
we
feel
couldn't
bad because I
even-
forgot who she is.
We couldn't do that at home right now. We couldn't I have all of the
Yeah.
extended versions of the DVDs, and I just for good measure I bought everything on iTunes again, just so it's easier to access.
Yep.
And it's like we can get through the first movie, but then it's just it's a lot. It's a lot to, because if you get the extended version, those are 3-hour movies each. That's a good work day.
The theater made it so that we had free popcorn the whole time.
Nice. That helps. So Lord of the Rings for me was kind of our Star Wars. Because
Oh,
in the context of Star Wars came out in '77, Empire's '80. That's when kind of Ace was born at then. And in '83, I was already around 2 years old. So we didn't get to live it live, so to speak, the hype live. But I think after this Fellowship of the Ring came out, you knew this was a blockbuster hit, and then the next 2 years, they released everything back to back. So for me, this was this was our Star Wars, and it's something that I'll always remember the movie experience of going to. It was just pre big internet, so there was no
yep.
spoilers about what was going to happen.
Good call out.
Um, and it was the last, I think it was the last big epic trilogy that, because I'm not going to count. We had just witnessed Phantom Menace come out, and at the time I thought Phantom Menace was pretty good. But then when you saw this was head and shoulders above the quality of that production. And then when
Yep.
2002 rolls around, Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones comes out along with this, with Two Towers. And by that time, I was already more shifting towards Lord of the Rings than Star Wars, because just the quality in storytelling and the production of the movie was head and shoulders like night and day at that point.
I never got into it, so I've really got nothing to say. Hey, I do want to check it out. I do want to watch it end to end because I never did.
It holds up.
It
It
holds
still
up.
holds.
It still holds up.
Hey,
It
it's
helps
something
that it's
special,
not.
bro.
It helps that it's not a modern movie. Like it's set in a mythical,
Alternate.
fantastical world. So it's kind of like it translates well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even almost 20 years later.
Yeah,
It's an experience, bro. Like I'm not like trying to be like saying like cliche stuff, but it's an experience.
yeah,
You get drawn in because since it's an alternate world, it's not like an alternate world; it's an actual its own own universe kind of deal.
Frankly,
Yeah.
You
now
can, yeah,
I
I,
remember.
I believe it. Yep.
I think I remember out of our circle of friends too, I was the only one that was into this. So
Yeah.
it's an
And
amazing franchise.
when you get to Harry, I'll have a solid take, and
Yeah.
it'll kind of tie into Lord of the Rings too.
all right,
In some way. Yep.
let's push forward. I gotta stop here because
That is
8701 was the first Usher album that I bought, and that's the only one that I consider. I consider this his
Opus.
best.
his opus.
Best.
Yes, even Confessions is great, but 8701 is the most played in my car. I think when
That CD's all scratched up.
the CD was all scratched up. Yeah, and it wasn't mine. I had a bad habit of borrowing my cousin's CDs and not returning them.
That's not a habit. It was the choice.
But this album had this hit. You Don't Have to Call was one of my favorite jams to play.
That
in the
remix by
car.
Luda.
Yeah. And just this overall album was great. So just
This
one-
was like the album that you played getting ready to go to the club.
There you go. That's exactly when we played it. We
Yeah.
played it going there and coming home.
Yeah.
I forgot which cologne to pop on.
Cool Water or
Oh my god.
where's your cologne back then? That's a good segue. Where's your, because this was the first. This is like around the first time I started buying cologne.
Yeah.
to
Cool
wear
Water
it.
is definitely part of the rotation.
Or Axe.
Polo Sport was a good.
Yeah, Polo Sport, CK1.
CK1. Yo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the jam
Wow.
right there.
I think up until this point, I was wearing my dad's Brute cologne. This was not a.
I had
it
a-
smelled like a grandpa.
I use Aeropostales.
Nice. That's the smell of desire, my lady.
And then my best friend at the time was Puerto Rican, and so every time we had like a big thing going to go out for, I went to his closet. He's like, "Here, pick whichever you want, man." I'm like, "So many choices." He had like 20 of them.
I don't know what to do. There's too many
Like,
colognes here.
And I didn't know how to use it back then, right? So I was like,
Real quick too. Hey, Will, did you have a job in 2001, or were you?
"Yeah." Mhm.
You did. What were
I
you
worked
doing?
at a restaurant, doing takeout at a
Where?
restaurant. Takeout at a restaurant.
Take out a restaurant. H, were you
Chinese
were you
restaurant.
at Structure at this point, or?
I was Aeroplus style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember
You
him
sold me my cologne.
in Newport
Yeah.
Mall.
Newport Mall.
Um, my first job was at Newport Mall too. I worked at Mrs. Fields Cookies back in
Yeah.
'98.
I'd be so fat if I worked there.
Why? It was a decent job. I was there for like 3 months.
I'd eat all the cookies.
Oh, dude, forget it. Anyway, I just thought it was to see this doing this stuff makes me just like time warp back into certain points of my life, and I'm just like, I remember all this.
And it's so vivid though. It's crazy.
It's
part.
still- yeah,
It's
yeah.
still good. Still there. Thank God.
Yeah.
Pause again.
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Wow.
But before that MJ album Invincible was good. I
wasn't
think it was
bad.
good, but it wasn't like his other albums. I think it was that's the reason why. And then he was going through all this controversy that made this album tank. I think not tank in Michael Jackson by Michael Jackson standards. This still sold over 3 or 4 million albums. Believe it or not.
For me, that album, I listened from cover to end to end. It was good for that time, but it wasn't magical. Like the
No.
magic of Michael Jackson was gone.
Agreed.
Anyone could have made that album. To be honest,
That video was still dope though with him, Chris Tucker.
they spent a lot of money on that in Michael Jackson fashion, obviously with music videos.
Right.
But they spent a lot of money.
Now, Monsters Inc. was a different type of Disney movie, right? Because they didn't. This is when they were starting to get into the besides Toy Story, this was the only big 3D movie that I remember going to the theater to watch because of the way that it was portrayed. I thought it was pretty cool, and this obviously
Yeah.
spawned another sequel and other pop culture references to monsters that are in your closet. Have your kids seen this yet?
My 8-year-old looks just like her.
Like Boo?
I'm not kidding. I mean, she's like older now, so she's not like her as much. But I'll pull up a picture while you guys talk about it.
Ace, have Charlotte and Jack seen this yet?
Yeah, they have, but they didn't get into it where they'd watch it multiple times like other movies. But I think they might need to rewatch it. I'm gonna have to put it back on for them. I mean, I was late to it too. I didn't watch it for the first time until years after it was released, and yeah, I thought it was awesome.
Funny enough, the kids saw Monsters University before they saw this one, which is
Really?
makes it they saw it in order, I guess, because Monsters University is a prequel, but they like Monsters University better than this, I think, because they saw that first, obviously,
Right.
and the animation had changed slightly. The
Oh,
quality
that's a
of
good
it.
point.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it recently. Does it still hold up the animation wise?
This holds up pretty well. It holds up as good as Toy Story does. I think more because of the storytelling than the animation. Oh wow, she does look like.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
That's hilarious. All right, moving on.
So that Final Fantasy game, I have very fond memories of because my cousin used to play it at the restaurant back in like the office. So we would like sneak into the office and I'd just watch him play it because it was my thing. I really like RPG kind of things, but like I like watching people play it. So it's kind of like Twitch in real life. So like, we go into the closet and he just kind of like, yo, go do that, bro. Yo, that's good. Yeah, that's so dope.
Can you relate that? Like, so back in the day, I remember also just kind of watching my cousins play video games, and that would just entertain me for the rest of the day. And this is basically
heck
what's
yeah.
going on with Twitch right now. You're just kind of you'll
We didn't know.
yeah, it's you tune into the show just to watch them play the game, and then you get hypercritical. It's kind of like being a sports fan. You're just kind of being hypercritical of everything that's happening once you've watched enough.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I used to do that big time with Resident Evil 2. That was like my first game that I really like enjoyed sitting down. Like, don't give me the controller. You guys play it. I want to watch.
That's good.
Like legit. It was the first time I ever passed away controller like voluntarily.
Right. And segue, because this video is not going to cover it. 2001 was the. Do you know what I'm going to say? This is the last hurrah for our Knicks because they got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs this year by the up and coming Toronto Raptors.
And we're still paying
And
for
we're still
all
paying
those
for
horrible decisions.
So I'm
I've
gonna.
never felt this hopeless as a
So
fan.
we might not finish this video because I'm gonna break off real quick and go into this. 2001 for our Knicks
Ooh, give him a recap.
was supposed to be. I think we were, even though we didn't go deep. I think we should have beaten the Raptors.
Heck
Yes
yeah.
or no? Because
That's a,
this is the first year we don't have Pat. We we got
but we had everybody else.
we had Spreewell still. We had um, Houston. We had
Canby, we had Johnson,
we had
Childs.
Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost to the Raptors 3-2. So it wasn't like they swept us, but I think we still had some gas in the tank after we lost Pat. But if for whatever reason it just didn't happen. And then subsequently we don't make the playoffs again until 2004, and then we have a huge drought up until 2011.
This is like literally the beginning of like a disaster that we again are still trying to like build back reputation from. Because that's when we got rid of Pat because we didn't see him as an asset anymore, or I won't say we, because
Yeah.
we all did.
This was Dolan's first year as owner also.
And that
Correct? I
tells
might
you,
be
if you
wrong.
look at the roster, you can see the work start to happen in this roster. It's a team of names. Like, why the heck do we sign Luke Longley? Why do we trade for him? Why? I don't see someone that we wanted.
Well, we had to fill a center void, didn't we? Oh, whatever.
And this is still big, big man ball back then. So
Yeah. This is not like what basketball wasn't what it is now.
it wasn't a long ball.
It was still you getting the big names to kind of entice the fan base. This is also the last year of the big panel 90s uniforms that we loved. Then because after this they went to the small panel on the side uniforms. But Ace, I know are you pining for this one? For
He's brewing.
I remember vividly the
Oh.
night they got eliminated. I was closing the store, and my manager at the time had to be the bearer of bad news. She had to troll me, and she enjoyed every minute of it. Um, and I remember thinking to myself, yeah, we'll be okay. We've had a long run. We'll retool. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we would suck so bad for the next 20 years. And I tell you what, Maris, I agree with you. We should have won. And I think Marcus Camby having to go through that hostage situation with his family
yeah.
I forgot about that.
affected him deeply, because those first two games I think we won, and we won handily, and they were performing well. So we would have at best made it to the second round, but again, it's neither here nor there. And then the following season, I think Layden had traded for Howard Isley,
Oh man.
Shandon Anderson.
And Anderson, yep.
Well, I'm gonna read you the the lineup from 2000. So 2001, our last like glory years from the 90s, moving into the new millennium. Our record was 48-34. It was just decent.
In today's standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finished third in the Atlantic Division. Our roster, we had notables on the roster: Marcus Camby, Allen Houston, Mark Jackson had returned that year.
Mm-hmm.
Larry
That was a
Johnson.
fun year.
Yeah, Larry Johnson. Spreewell is on this team. Kurt Thomas, Charlie Ward, Glenn Rice. So those are the big notables on that. And of course, you had Luke Longley, Felton Spencer,
LeVar Postel. from
LeVar
St.
Pustel.
John's. The kid that never ended up being anything that I hoped you could be.
So there's a huge drop off now. But
The following year, it's
the
a
following
huge drop
year,
off.
it's 30-52, and Van Gundy leaves kind of early in the season with a 10-9 record, and Don Chaney takes over, and we go 20-43. Now, this is the Knicks version of the Jazz coming up, because you had Howard Isley and Shandon Anderson in the backcourt. You still had Houston and Spreewell.
And like Clarence Weatherspoon, I don't forget that was a signer that we traded. He was part of a package.
Yeah.
But why the heck do we have a 9 years in Clarence Weatherspoon?
Oh man. So real quick, because I want to just do the drop off up until 2004, because 2004 we actually made the playoffs. This is where we traded for Marbury. So
I actually went to the game before they got eliminated.
so this roster was still Shannon Anderson. Now you had Michael Doliak, Howard Isley, Allen Houston. Still had Sprewell, Ward, Clarence Weatherspoon, Frank Williams, Lee Nailon, Athella Harrington. Man, what was our record this year? Funny enough, this year we improved a little bit at 37 and 45. So we won 7 more games, which I think is why we still had a glimmer of hope that things were going to turn around. And I think in 03, 04, it did for the most part, only because the East was such a weak division at that point. We finished 39 and 43, and we actually made the playoffs. At this point, we had a decent roster at this point, which I thought was something we could build on, because we had Shannon. I keep saying that name because he's the first one there. We had Vin Baker, who was still pretty good at that point. You remember Vin Baker was on the Knicks?
Oh yeah,
We had Penny, who was still decent. He wasn't like Penny was still decent at this point.
he was a role player at that point.
Right, he's a role player at this point, but still decent. Still had Allen Houston. We had Marbury. We had Dikembe, Tim Thomas, Keith Van Horn. This was a decent roster.
Yeah.
We make the playoffs that year.
We made the playoffs that year. We lost to the Nets, so we got swept. But
Oh
this was a decent team that we could have built upon. This is also remember, this is also the year that the McDice thing happened.
Well, I mean, we were like super over salary cap at that point, right?
I think so, yeah. 'Cause
Like we're like, really deep.
we had taken on so many bad contracts at that point. But this was a decent
McDice.
this was a decent roster still. And then we had the drop off for the next 7 years of a
Look
revolving
at Charlie Ward's still hanging around.
of a revolving door of people that were washed at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sorry, I just wanted to dive into that because 2001 I was still wearing my Knicks stuff loud and proud, and I didn't get to break out anything great up until I never bought a Marbury jersey. Even though I met him twice, which was
I have
funny
one.
enough. I never bought a Marbury jersey just because I think I appreciate him more now than I did back then, because I had so many hopes back then because he was one of my favorite point guards growing up. And him and Iverson. Which I wish Iverson was on the Knicks, but we got him, and I thought it was a great pickup, and it ended up being a good pickup for at least 2 or 3 years. And
I think we collectively shouldn't have ushered him out as quickly as we did when D'Antoni got picked up.
oh yeah, I thought that was a mistake.
All was like, nope, you went, you go, leave.
Well, it's a thing that with D'Antoni, because D'Antoni could have used Marbury because we needed a point guard at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Got
know,
into really good shape
he had
for
that
that season too.
and he just didn't play him, which didn't seem like it was a professional decision. It was more of a personal one,
It
because
seems like D'Antoni. Yeah,
because when D'Antoni got to Phoenix, he ushered Marbury out for Steve Nash, right?
Yeah.
it was a personal thing.
Yeah, which kind of, because I think if you put Marbury and you keep Marbury, and then you still do the Amari signing, and you had Carmelo Anthony, if that was
Yep.
all at all possible, I think, because I don't know if we had to move Marbury to make room for Carmelo Anthony or anything like that, but that would have been
Oh, we would have to.
I think that would have been a decent run. Any last thoughts on this before we move on?
I just hope Thibodeau is gonna help us.
All right, moving on. On the screen now is not Faith Evans, it's Blue Cantrell, who
Yes, that is a name back then.
and if I didn't, I bet you anybody watching, if I didn't say that, you would have thought Faith Evans sang this song, because they were very similar.
Yeah, I actually thought the same when I watched this an hour ago.
To the right and the flow.
Back to back, you had Linkin Park and Sum 41, which again was the two bands that kind of
Oh,
changed my
yeah.
musical taste because of I think I was in the emotional realm that I was in 2001 was I was very much just all about trying new things, and those were the two bands that got me into more different types of music.
Linkin Park did that for me also. It was my first introduction outside of like hip hop and R&B. Yeah,
Yeah.
when so I feel you on that one.
And there was a lot of catchy alternative songs starting up back then. I think Ace and I were talking about this before we started recording. There was just a lot of there's a big shift in the style of alternative rock, and it was more appealing than what was grunge was in the '90s for me. Even though I still like in retrospect a lot of the grunge songs, but this was a different type of poppy type alternative.
I think what you saw in 2001 is what 2000 was for all the boy bands is what
Ooh, good call out
2001
here.
was
Yeah.
for those bands of the Linkin Parks and the Sum 41s and Alien Ant Farms of the world.
How lucky are we that we get to grow up with that? I don't know what kids get nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those bands that ended up being one of the biggest bands of the decade, which is Linkin Park.
Culturally,
Culturally, yes.
huge impact.
Culturally, yes. I know a lot of people that don't like Linkin Park.
Really?
Yeah, I had a couple of friends in college that Linkin Park. And I don't think our friend Jay Freyna, shout out to Jay Freyna, is a fan of Linkin Park, even though he sounds like Chester Bennington. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, Jay.
Still love you, bro.
Still love you, bro. Moving on. Have we mentioned this Missy album yet? This Missy album had a lot of big hits.
Well, this is the second song they showed in this video, so
Yeah, we had Get Your Freak On earlier, and then 1 Minute Man was good.
I think there's another song on there. I think it's For My People, and that song like made a huge lasting impact on me. I think it's from that album.
It just takes some time, little girl.
That's still a staple for me when I'm driving on a long drive with the kids. That song's always got to be playing. That, Yellow Card.
Yo,
shit,
you're
and-
speaking to me right now.
just these are great driving songs.
Ocean's Avenue is the best jam out song ever.
Real quick,
Mega Man.
Zoolander was a movie that could only come out in 2001
Yes.
because
The things
the sequel to that, which came out recently, felt totally just like not of the times, and I'm just like, wow, this is really out of its element at this point.
there's a lot of stuff that the early 2000s and the late 90s got away with that you cannot get away with right now.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The storylines in WWF back then, wow. You would not get away with that now.
Where was wrestling at this point? This is a good segue. Where was wrestling at this point in 2001?
Still
WWF
the
was doing
attitude
invasion
era.
angle.
Yeah, we're
Oh
still.
yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think
They're
it was,
kind of like transitioning into
transitioning from
incorporating, yeah.
attitude to like invasion. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when like the year like Shane McMahon bought WCW.
Yeah.
And that totally flopped because they didn't get all like the big talent that they actually needed, like Goldberg at the time.
Yeah.
They got like those, they got Booker T, they got the champion at the time, so he was really should be built better, but they didn't have big draws.
I'm gonna check out what the roster was like.
It was stacked if you look at it on paper, but they didn't have. So what happens? Some of those WCW talents were signed to Turner, and not actually signed to WCW.
We used to. Hey, do you remember we used to go to each other's houses for these pay-per-views?
Yeah.
We'd pick who would buy it, either Geo, me, or Big Sexy, and then
Yeah,
we would just go to their house and watch it. It's kind of like what we used to do with the Pacquiao fights subsequently.
Yeah.
Pac-Man fights, man.
Yeah, you're talking the 2002 WrestleMania, so that's something we could talk about for the following year.
Yep.
But definitely remember going over Geos for the 2002 WrestleMania, the epic Hulk Hogan versus The Rock matchup.
You get to check out
That
this,
was
these roster names real quick. So Al Snow is still around.
whew,
Prince Albert, Big Boss Man, Big Show, Billy Gunn,
the one.
Chuck Palumbo,
That story arc.
Funaki,
Yeah.
like Booker T. These were
There you go.
classic names. These are also before. Sadly, this is also before Eddie Guerrero and
Yeah.
Benoit.
This is when they.
Benoit's tragedy happened because they're still on the roster here. Anyway,
So they actually, yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, they kind of made it so that the invasion angle was possible because they're the first ones to really kind of defect back from WCW to WWF. Because back then it was a reverse where everyone's leaving WWF for WCW.
True.
So,
Yep.
so they made it possible for the idea of having WCW stars inside WWF again.
Last thoughts on this, Ace?
On the wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, to Will's point, I mean, they couldn't really execute the whole invasion angle without having the major players because, they're tied down to their contracts. And they were huge contracts, so they just kind of had to wait it out. Eventually, they introduced them, but the desired effect for the WCW invasion didn't quite go as
Yeah,
well
it
as
fell a little
expected.
flat.
Yeah. So, but they recovered with ruthless aggression.
True.
Somehow that worked too. Like, how did John Cena work for so long? How?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand it.
What did so? I'm gonna put this to bed real quick, but I remember there was a WWE themed restaurant in Times Square, which
Yeah.
is around at this
Oh,
point, right?
I love
Yeah,
it.
WWF New York.
And I remember there was a promo. I don't know if this was when Tough Enough. When did Tough Enough happen? Was it 2001, 2002?
Probably 2003-ish, if I remember.
I think to be honest with you, I think that the WWF store, whatever you want to call it in Times Square, I think it was
2001.
early for its time. I think it would do better now. Well, pre-COVID,
Yeah.
I think it would have done better now than it would have done back then. It did-
I think you might be right.
I think it just people didn't get it yet.
Tough Enough debuted in 2001. I think the reason this is significant to me is because they did a Divas thing in the restaurant that I remember because I was a big Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson person back then.
Of course you were.
And I remember they did a whole Divas thing, and I remember Maven's reaction to Stacy Keibler, which was a classic reaction of when.
Oh my god, I forgot that
when
story.
they did that lingerie thing, and then Maven just goes like this. Funny. Sorry, this is a memory that I felt like I wanted to bring up. Anyway, moving on. All right. Because that's the last. I remember from watching this. That's the last thing you're going to see of it. But before we get to the obvious one that just passed, Not Another Teen Movie is a very good spoof movie.
I'm gonna be real. I never watched it.
The iPod. What a game changer the iPod was, right? And I know I'm about to bring this up. Mr. Ace Merluza was one of my first friends to ever have an iPod that I knew.
Coolest dude ever now.
Because he had... You brought this thing out and I was like, what the heck is this? This is a different type of MP3 player. Because he had the white one with the dial, right?
Yeah.
Did you have the one with the buttons too? Or just the dial?
On top.
That's a good question. No, I think it was just a plain white dial with the small button in the middle.
Gotcha. So,
Yeah.
how many? So back then, and this is going to be a big parallel to what we have now. How many songs could you put on that thing?
Wow, that's a good question, man. I know it was a labor of love trying to upload my entire library from my Dell laptop into that thing, for obvious reasons, from PC to an Apple product. But I managed to do it. Granted, it took a lot of time, but it was just awesome knowing that I was able to, transfer all my music in there, and I was able to then move my music from that white iPod into my black iPod, maybe two generations later, and that same music collection moved on to my MacBook, my black MacBook in 2006,
Wow.
which I then successfully
Crazy.
transferred into the cloud when I signed up for Google Play Music, which enabled you to have
You
to
like travel, man. Wow.
yeah. So it's
Wow.
yeah, like I'm
That
I'm
is
like so happy
surreal.
it was able to like get all that music. It's still on my Google Play Music. I just type in any random song from 2001, and
That's awesome.
I could listen to it.
Can,
Yeah.
can we talk about how crazy it is that we went from like we wouldn't make that kind of time investment anymore to get music. You know what I'm saying? Like just to bring a library that would be used to like hours. We would sit there
It did take
and
hours.
name it and
Oh.
format it the way you wanted, everything.
Yeah.
Think about it now.
You
We wouldn't do that nowadays.
You
No
could
way.
you can spend a whole day just curating specific playlists that you wanted to play for that day because
Album art.
you didn't have any unlimited thing like access to anything like you did with Apple Music and Spotify right now. You just type it in and it comes up. You actually had to curate, and it was iTunes. What is in its infancy at this point also.
Literally.
So they had a limited number of songs. So you were literally back in the day taking your CD, putting it in there, and then telling the computer, I want either you did the whole CD and then deleted them later, or you just
Burn.
or you just picked certain things that you wanted to put on your computer and then put on your iPod. At this point too, I wasn't into Apple yet too. I still had my Discman.
Me neither.
So I was still
Oh, Sony
burning
guy.
I was still burning stuff onto CDs. So when Ace showed up one time, I picked him up we picked up to go somewhere, like I did with everybody. He had his iPod with him, and I was just like, "What the hell is that?"
It
And
was just
this big white brick that held tons of songs on there, and I was like, "I gotta
Yeah.
get one." I ended up getting the third generation iPod. Classic.
Was that your first one?
That was my first one.
Yeah.
But I didn't get it till 2 years later because I had been trying out. I was still using CDs. I was trying out other different types of MP3 players. Because
Same.
at that point the iPod was still expensive, and I was not as financially successful as I am now. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we were still in our meandering type jobs, and I was great. You'd still worry about saving for stuff like this.
yeah.
And
What was great about the iPod back then is that you could buy an FM adapter, right? So if
Oh
you
my
wanted to
gosh,
listen
the
to
dongle.
music from on your iPod,
88.7
cool.
was the
Yeah,
frequency.
I'd be like, I'd be like, yo, Marish, check this out, man. All these songs, baby. You name it, let's play it. And it was like amazing.
That was I remember when we did that because
Yeah.
it was a radio receiver. We would set the dial to 88.7, and all of a
Yep.
sudden, everything from the iPod magically just went into the car. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my
It was-
god, this is so
It was
cool."
amazing. It was the most amazing thing. It was like
Game
magic.
changer.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, these kids today.
I'm telling you,
They
man.
don't know how
Yeah.
hard it
Don't
was
know.
back then, man.
It was.
I was fortunate. I didn't have to buy mine. My girlfriend at that time actually bought it for me. I didn't know that she was going to buy it. Didn't even tell her I wanted it. She bought it. I'm like, no way.
Man,
You
Anyway.
stole my heart.
that was great. That's this. I couldn't like that just seeing that one, and they just flashed it real quick, and that's the only time I think you're gonna see it in this video. They just flashed it real
Yeah.
quick.
It was the only time. Yeah.
It was
Those keynotes.
It was
Oh,
such a big, important thing that again influenced the next 19 years forward.
Yeah.
Because it just kept evolving to stuff
Yeah.
that we couldn't have thought of back then.
Yeah.
I know.
And when commuting on the bus and the train, one of the biggest flexes was just like being able to like take out the iPod and how it would just light up. It was just like it's so clean, and and like
Ah,
and people are looking like, oh man, he's
I
got
missed
an
that
iPod.
design.
Such a flex.
Ah.
can we title this episode Flex?
I'm gonna put the 2001 Flex episode. That's what it's gonna be named. All right, moving
So,
on.
yeah.
You're my darling.
All right, I gotta stop it there because I don't know if that DMX clip was from Exit Wounds or from
Exit Wounds.
Cradle to the Grave. Okay, I need
yeah.
I need you to clear that up for me because to me
I think it was.
they're the same movie.
I think it was actually both of them. I think it's just both of them.
Did
I'm
they?
pretty sure.
Was it back to back? No, because Cradle to the Grave came out late, a little bit later, I think.
Did it?
I don't know. I don't care. I just wanted you to clear that up. But Tomb Raider, again, another movie that we don't expect Angelina Jolie to be in, but she pulled it off.
Yeah.
I think she pulled it off nicely. I'm a fan of Tomb Raider because it harkened back to an Indiana Jones vibe
Yeah.
for me.
Great.
I know this movie pissed off a lot of people, but for me, it was all about entertainment value on this one, and it entertained me thoroughly.
And
Not like that.
You said that really weird, but anyway.
Not like that.
I just wanted to say that 2001 Tomb Raider, underrated still because I don't think it gets appreciated as much as now as it should, especially with the last one that came out. I like the last Tomb Raider with Alicia Vikander that just came out, but it didn't have the entertainment value this one had.
Interesting.
Did you see it or no?
Oh, me. This is one of the movies I used to actually rewind over and over with this one scene.
Not
where
this
she
one.
loads her.
The new one.
Oh,
Did you
what?
see the new Tomb Raider? I compared.
I
both of
avoided
them.
because
Okay. It was good. It just wasn't as entertaining as this. All right.
Super Troopers.
Did you like Super Troopers? Ace, did you like Super Troopers?
It's one of my all-time.
Yeah,
favorites.
I didn't get it. I really didn't get into it.
Neither did I. So,
Yeah.
well, you're gonna have to tell us about it.
It could have been one of those things where like I was just in high school at the time, and so that movie was so a little bit it's edgier than what I was used to. I was just starting to watch a little bit older movies, but that movie for me just like from beginning to end, I couldn't stop laughing. Maybe it's because all my friends watched it and we all got into it. But I could literally quote like the first like 5 minutes by heart back in the day.
I think this was on the level. I don't know if it was on the same level as Freddy Got Fingered for me and Ace, because I remember. I don't know, Ace, were you there when we watched Freddy Got Fingered at my house? We rented it. And
I think so.
it
I
was just
love Freddy. I thought it was weird, but it was
It was one of
freaking
the
hilarious.
weirdest,
Over the top.
one of the weirdest over the top movies that I've ever rented. I think, and
Yeah.
we had a blast. I think I had a blast with it because I was watching it with friends. But if I would have rented that on my own, I'd been like, what the hell why did I waste my money on this? But I don't know. Like, so is Super Troopers like kind of like the same type of thing? Will?
Yeah, in terms of I think it had like that. If you watched it with your boys, it was like you could sit there and just laugh at it because it had enough like those raunchy jokes. Like you felt like you're cool watching it with your boys,
Oh God.
but it wasn't over the top. So like they made like references towards things that like when you're younger, you're like, oh, they talked about drugs.
All right, moving on.
You know what I'm saying?
That's all I had to hear. Thanks.
Think twice, 'cause it's another day. You and me.
All right.
All right.
Training Day.
Favorite line from that movie? Well, favorite question. Have you ever get your shit pushed in?
Yo, that scene creeped me
Favorite
out.
line of the movie. That's all I gotta say about that. Okay.
Every time I see that actor, I think of that line.
Yeah.
Training Day
So
was
when-
a big movie back then. This and
Yeah, it was.
they don't show it in the video, but Monsters Ball was this year too. And because I remember the Oscars that year, Halle Berry won the Oscar for that one. And it was the first.
Yeah.
It was a big deal because it was the first time two African Americans won both best actor and best actress.
Did Denzel win? Wait, who won Best Actor
Denzel won best actor for that.
for Training Day? Really?
Yeah.
I
Now
thought you did
you're
great,
gonna,
right?
You're gonna fact check me. Hold on.
I'm not fact checking, but yeah, I guess it's him being one.
I
But
think I should.
I'm just like shocked.
I should fact check myself. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I'm right, but
Because to me, Training Day is a great movie, but it's a little bit, I don't know, like didn't.
yeah, he won.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Supporting
That
actor for Ethan Hawke, he was a nominee and didn't win. But yeah, I was right.
Wow.
And I got one note on the Strokes. Like when they came out, and they kind of threw it back to that post-punk, late '70s sound, Joy Division, new wave. And the reason why I was drawn to it was because my brother's 11 years older than me, so he played a lot of synth pop, post punk, like British rock bands of the time, like from the early 80s. So the Strokes kind of brought back that sound, lo-fi sounding, straight out of your garage, run through a whole like album in like 20 minutes. And for me, that was game changing. And it kind of like set the tone for like the next 3-4 years. And I wound up growing my hair out. Marish could tell you that. Bought a whole bunch of military jackets from thrift stores, and it was like on steady rotation. But yeah, solid times.
So 2001 was kind of an awakening of Ace's music culture because, and you would see the influence on it in the way that he dressed.
Yeah.
And if you were a fan of his Zanga and whatever other social media platforms were growing back then, you'd see the evolution from clean cut polo shirt, jeans, muscular at this point because Ace was in the gym like every day and doing a dope meal plan too.
Yeah.
And then from it, just every year his hair got longer, he looked a little skinnier, and he dressed a little bit just different from when we had, which was ahead of his time, faster than all of us, because that ended up I ended up wanting to dress like Ace too, but I didn't think I could pull it off. So
Yeah.
I kept myself in early 2000s hip hop for a while. But it was funny it's funny to look back on now how some people are just ahead of their times.
Yeah, he wore blazers and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna text you too, like one defining picture,
Oh my
which pretty much
gosh.
like encapsulates everything. But yeah, fun times, and I'm glad we're kind of going through every year in this decade because we could kind of like touch on recurring themes in our development as young men into
Yeah.
where we are now. So I think it's
Yeah.
awesome to look back on those days.
Yeah, I think this is great. Let's move
Yeah.
on. But that's awesome.
Wanna go and take a ride
Yeah.
with me? We three women in the fall with the dozy.
Nelly's year that year, man. That album was in constant rotation too.
So
Yep.
we talked about this in the last episode. Country Grammar came out in 2000, but it was so big that it carried over significantly into this year. And this song was another driving song that I couldn't get out of my. Every time we would go, me and the guys would go on because I would be the one driving everywhere. Every time we would go on a long drive, we were bumping at least one of these Nelly songs, going forward, going
It went
to where we were going.
diamond.
Yeah.
10 million copies, man. That's crazy.
And then I
So
OG Xbox?
OG Xbox. Well, before that, Fear Factor. Because I don't know if you saw that clip where the guy was in the tank and there's just rats crawling all over him.
I'm good.
Fear Factor, Xbox, and this green tub right here, Shrek, came out this year. So
Wow. I did not know that. Totally forgot about that.
Wow. The Xbox, man. That too.
Ace, the first person that we knew had an Xbox was Rye, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to our boy Gifted, Ryan Evangelista. He was the first person, I think, out of our friend group that had an Xbox. So we had gotten to experience playing the Xbox firsthand in his basement. But none of us, I don't think, none of us actually had an Xbox at that point. I had a GameCube.
I got one eventually. Not in
So-
2001 though.
And it was a different experience just because the controllers were different. The graphics were just
The chunky black controller.
chunky black controller, yeah, before
with the slot on top.
it was so
The
different
memory
from the
slot.
PlayStation too, yeah, because it was just a big hunky.
It was deliberately not sleek.
yeah, like it is now. Well, it's funny because parallel now the new Xbox and the new PS5 just released yesterday
How small that thing
or
is.
today, yeah. But it's a good parallel because that was the start of a new kind of console war between Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. At this point, was third.
They dipped it for a little while there.
They dipped for a little while. The GameCube was great, I thought, because I think you'll see later in the video. Remember 2001, the GameCube. What else came out, which is a great parallel to the game it has now? Smash Brothers came out this year.
Oh,
All right. Also, before we continue in the video, I want to make a quick announcement that we know in 2001 that 9/11 happened. I have made a decision that we're not going to cover that on this video. We're going to remember some other nostalgic stuff. 9/11 was hit very close to home to us because we were just across the pond in New Jersey. And Will is obviously from New York, so it's not something that we want to cover at the moment, but we will be skipping around in the video for other significant pop culture things that have happened. So I just want to make that clear for anybody that's watching real quick. We know if you want to relive the events of that day, there are other videos you can do that with. We're not going to do that right now. And my tone just got real serious. I'm sorry about that, but whatever. Moving on. 24.
Oh, that's why I was that background earlier.
24.
was such a revolutionary
Yep.
series. It kind of
Agreed.
like changed the game as far as serialized shows go, and I caught onto it late. I probably caught onto it in the middle of like season 4, wherein I binge watch like the seasons I miss on like DVD. But it's such an amazing show, and I kind of want to rewatch it now to see how it holds up. But awesome.
I
That's
think
all
it'll
got
hold
to
up
say.
pretty well. 24 wasn't one of the ones I had gotten into, but the episodes that I did see were pretty exciting.
Amazing.
The format was very revolutionary. The way they filmed it and just like the sequence of it, and like like what time is coming next, but you still
Yeah.
wonder like what's Jack gonna get into? This is the
Yeah.
craziest day ever
Right.
There's so many twists. So many.
in one effing day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Did the wind
I think we
sweep you
passed
up?
it. So real quick, there was a quick blip on Wikipedia.
Wikipedia launched.
So that's what Wikipedia looked like back in the day when it first launched, and it was not as slick as it is now.
Future idea. We should do a separate of websites back in the day.
Oh my god, I'll definitely do that. But can you imagine? So Wikipedia, for all intents and purposes, is not that old. 19 years. This
That's it.
launched, and it has become somewhat of a universal resource for everybody. And some
Yep.
people don't
Yeah.
know that it's user still don't know that it's user based, that people are typing stuff in to do that.
The crazy part is
references
back in the day, you couldn't use Wikipedia for your research papers. At least in high school, you could not use Wikipedia as a resource, even though the information was correct. You couldn't use it because it wasn't seen as legitimate yet.
Yeah, not like
That's
it is.
crazy.
Not like it is now, where it's fact checked
Yeah.
and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. This is when Wikipedia started, and I'm gonna fast forward quickly through the video for more Creed. And this Harry Potter debuted in 2001, and I know that back in the day, and before, I know Ace wants to wax poetic on it real quick, but there was a faction of people that liked Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter that were kind of quote unquote, if you liked Lord of the Rings, you didn't like Harry Potter. If you liked Harry Potter, you didn't like Lord of the Rings, which is weird.
I didn't know.
Yeah, there was. I
love both.
You and me both. I like both things. I think some of my cousins were just like, "Oh, you like Harry Potter? How can you be a Lord of the Rings fan?" And it's like, I don't know. I like both things. I never read any of the books of Harry Potter, but I enjoyed every single movie that has come out of it. And again, this is one of the things that lasted for at least the next decade in popularity and in pop
I've
culture.
got so many classes to go watch these movies.
Yeah. Ace.
Ace of Chopping.
You know, I mean, when it came out, I never understood the popularity
Ooh.
of Harry Potter. I didn't quite get it. In my career, I noticed a lot of my coworkers excitedly go to bookstores whenever a new book would be released, and I
Mhm.
still didn't get it. I started dating Carla, who was a big Harry Potter fan. This was around 2009. And I didn't get around to reading a book until 2011, and Harry Potter had already concluded its run of movies. So what I did was I would read the book, and I would watch the subsequent movie right after, and I would do that for each and every book,
Wow.
and it was probably the most fun I've had reading in the last 10 years.
Oh, that's cool, bro.
I never really dived into a series like that, and I haven't since then. I mean, have read The Hunger Games, but I kind of stopped at the second book. But yeah, it was a pretty fun experience. And to your point about Lord of the Rings, I kind of look at Lord of the Rings the same way. You know, I could probably like queue it up and watch everything and kind of experience everything like and enjoy everything 20 years after the fact. So yeah, that's just my thing about Harry Potter.
So don't do that same approach with Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings
I'm not going to read the books.
is
Though. I'm
tough
not gonna
to
read.
read.
The books.
Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
is a tough read.
Yeah.
But but yeah, to your point, I own all the Harry Potter books now because we got them as a set for the kids, and I haven't cracked open one yet. But I think now you've inspired me to do that now. So because they haven't even
Yeah.
they haven't gotten into the movies yet. And I think it's something I can share with the kids probably
Oh,
for
they
story
haven't?
time. No, they haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten into any.
That's
I've,
cool.
I've
Those
tried
books-
showing them Harry Potter once or twice, and they haven't gotten into it yet. I don't think their interests are different at this point. But I think if I'm able to crack open a book for during bedtime story time, and then I'll say, hey, we can watch the movie after. That'd probably be a good approach to get them into it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's great,
Incredibly
Ace.
Fun read. Yeah, it was an incredibly fun read. There's that one book, I think, Order of the Phoenix, which for me took forever.
Really.
Yeah.
My favorite movie, I think, of Harry Potter that came out was Goblet of Fire. I think it was just because it was the turn. Movie-wise, was the turn of it being kind of a kid-friendly to more
Yeah.
Adult.
friendly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. There's nothing else of significance in this video I think that we're going to talk about other than the last thing that I'm looking at right now is Baby Boy, which is a movie that I know we've watched a ton of different times with Tyrese and Taraji P. Henson. That was a big believe it or not, that was a big influence on me to want to get a lowrider bike. But yeah, there's a lot of quotables from Baby Boy, but I think for the interest of time, we're going to cut our Remembering 2001 shorts. Any last words on the year of 2001?
Thank you, 2001. Very fun year in my life. Well, up until about August, leading into September. It was a great year.
Yeah. Believe it or not, 2001 was a great year for me. Again, other than September 11, it was a fun year. And if
Yeah.
it hadn't been for the tragedy that had struck later in that year, I think it would have been remembered as a great year. It doesn't get enough credit for it being a good year pop culture wise.
Yeah, agreed.
Ace, any last thoughts?
Yeah, it was a very transformative year for my young adulthood. A lot of things change, a lot of life-changing circumstances, and kind of like paved the way for the rest of the decade. So, awesome year all around, despite of the tragedies.
All right.
Well said, sir. Well said.
Well said. And
Yeah.
that is- all right. All right, guys. So, in the spirit of Halloween, we are going to go into our Dad Life segment real quick. Here's the graphic.
Check this out.
And for our Dad Stuff segment, in the spirit of Halloween, we are going to be doing some Halloween trivia. And again,
Tap into the morphing grid.
this is
Try and win this.
so Ace is up on Will 1-0 from our last trivia.
Been a while.
Session that we did a couple weeks ago, back I think in episode 3. But it's Ace versus Will again, with me being
Let's
the
see,
host.
0-2.
Let's see. This is general knowledge, and just for context, Ace and Will are not horror movie buffs, So I made the questions pretty easy. So guys should know this, and if you don't, I'm gonna be very ashamed of both of you at the end of this. But
I'm ready for the shame.
we're gonna be doing best of 7 like we did last time, in the spirit of the NBA playoff format that we've come to know and love growing
Shout
up.
out to
NBA
the
fans.
Lakers.
Like it.
Shout out to the Lakers again for winning the 2020 NBA championship. We're gonna do best of 7. If you guys somehow want to go further, which I doubt you are going to, I do have other questions prepared, but for the moment, we're going to go best of 7 in our Halloween trivia. And for you at home that are watching on YouTube, you can play along. I will wait about 5 seconds for them to answer. The way we're going to do this too, guys, is a little bit different. So we're going to buzz in, but the way we're going to buzz in is on Zoom. You have
the hand
reactions on there.
Yeah.
So what you
okay.
can do
Let's go.
is give that thumbs up for when you know the answer, and then I'll call on you, just so we don't blurt out the answer before each other. Okay? Sound good?
Sounds
Let's do
good.
this.
All right. Let's get into it then. So question number 1 for our Hyper Nerds Revenge our Hyper Nerds Revenge Halloween trivia. Here we go. Question: which movie featured someone being eaten by a large shark? Looks like Will chimed in first.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Or
I said
I
go.
thought we had to wait 5 seconds.
Okay, go.
Jaws.
Correct. Will.
Yeah.
1-0 on that one.
I was gonna say Sharknado.
Oh my god.
Sharknado?
Sharknado, you mean?
Nado? This ain't a Filipino dish, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right, Will's up 1-0. Question 2. What movie was an individual thrown down the stairs after being possessed by a demon?
That's so scary.
Ace,
I-
your thumb is up, Ace.
The Exorcist.
You are correct.
Exorcist.
How does that always work in your favor? You always get the crotch. I need to go. Damn it.
All right, 1-1. After 2 questions, it's 1-1. It's a tie. Exorcist is the correct answer. And question number 3. What movie portrays someone being stabbed to death with a knife in the shower? Ace.
Psycho.
Correct. 2-1 in favor of Ace. Go ahead and put your thumbs back down. Will, you were really slow on that one, bro.
I was like double checking my brain. Like, I don't want to say something stupid.
That's good. That's good YouTubing, though. Anyway, question number
For you.
4. Which horror film kills someone by forcing them to eat too much? Will.
7.
7 is correct.
Wow, I had no idea.
That's one of my
2-2. Have you seen
so
some of
good.
these?
So
No, I
good.
haven't.
7 Deadly Sins.
Oh man, that's a 90s movie you gotta watch, Ace. 2-2. Question number 5. What film showcases death by strangulation with a clothesline in the shower? Now I'm gonna read it a different way. What film showcases death by strangulation with a clothesline in the shower? Will has the thumbs up.
I don't know if I don't remember the scene, but the way you said it, I'm thinking Final Destination.
Final Destination is correct because it showcases death. All right, 3-2. Will is up.
Going for a chip.
Ace, what is that? Little party thing. You want to use that instead? You can use whatever symbol you want. I'll accept it. And question number 6. In what movie does someone get hit in the face with an axe while listening to Hip to Be Square?
Why would I know this?
Counting
Yeah.
down in 3, 2, 1. American Psycho is the correct answer. But Christian Bale. All right. Nobody on that one. So Will's up 3-2. Ace, your chance to tie or Will gets the win. Question number 7. Here we go.
Here we go.
Which movie kills off their high-profile main character at the very beginning with a gruesome stabbing scene? One of you has to get this, or else I'm going to scrap this entire thing.
Wait, say it one more time.
Which movie kills off their high-profile main character at the beginning of the movie with a gruesome stabbing scene? Oh my god, I'm going to have to... It's like pulling teeth. So, think of a movie where the high-profile character, main character, gets killed off in literally the first 10 minutes. It's not very pop. It was a very pop culture. It was referenced in a bunch of different other movies. It changed the
You
game.
tell me the actor.
It changed the game in the 90s. This movie.
In 90s.
The movie came out in 1995. Ace?
I'm just gonna guess. Scream.
Correct.
That was just a guess.
Drew Barrymore dies in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
I don't watch those. I don't like
my
them.
God. All right. So it's tied, so I have to go through a tiebreaker. And
Ooh,
real quick,
doggy.
you guys ready?
We'll find out.
Okay. I gotta make this super easy for you guys then.
Thanks.
All right. The tiebreaker question is, what color is Freddy Krueger's sweater?
Isn't it two
Ace.
colors? It's a trick question.
Ace.
It's a red striped sweater, red and brown.
Incorrect.
Damn.
Will?
Red and like it's a greenish, but I can't.
You
I don't
are
know what-
correct. You are correct.
Green.
Red and green is the
Yeah.
color of Freddy Krueger's sweater.
Now I get to do this. Hold on. Hold on. I have a bird. I'm gonna flex.
Oh my god.
Hold on. Let me find it.
Hey, Maris, you think you could ask me my Exorcist a question again?
No. Why?
Oh, come on. I don't know. I just want to answer it again. That's all.
What movie features a girl getting possessed by a demon? Ace?
The Exorcist.
This is my crotch chop pyro for you.
Oh, I love you guys. All right, so Will has tied it up. So Will wins the second round of Ace versus Will
Yeah.
trivia.
Congrats, Will.
It's
I wish I was a
1-1.
belt.
We'll probably go through another trivia or a couple trivias to the end
These are
of the
fun.
year to see who will win the 2020 series Ace versus Will. I like this. I like doing this. This is awesome. And to kind of round out this portion of the episode for Halloween, what is your fondest, I guess, Halloween memory? Starting with Will.
Partaking in Halloween.
Partaking in Halloween, yeah.
I think I talked about. I don't remember if we talked about it, but I know I spoke about it with you. Privately, riding on the back of my uncle's pickup truck, like the old Ford pickup truck from the '90s, and partially knowing like we weren't supposed to do that, but our uncle that year for whatever reason was like really cool about it. So we literally, instead of having to walk to each house trick or treating, we rode on the back of his truck.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. No, you didn't talk about that. I don't think we talked about that last time. Well, we didn't go into detail like that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Me and it was just like we felt like the coolest kids in the world.
Ace?
I think my fondest memory was flexing on my Karate Kid fandom and dressing up as a premier Miyagi-Do karate student.
Nice.
headband and all, and flexing
Super
on my
flex.
classmates with the crane kick. So yeah, that was a fun year.
Can we put up the image of Ace that he sent us? Like at least one of them, just to finish off the episode.
Hang on.
And you gotta feature my my favorite trivia question too.
Like do the old school Batman.
All right, and then my fondest memory is actually trick or treating. So back in the day, you can actually just go house to house, no parents, in your costume with your friends, just trick or treating. Whereas now it's so, especially now in COVID, we've had to work out so many different things. But my fondest memory, I think specifically, is being dressed up as a pirate with a light up chest in the second grade, going trick or treating, house to house with a light up skull
Iron
on
Pirate?
my chest. Huh?
Iron Pirate.
Iron Pirate?
You had a glowing thing on your chest, an arc reactor. So you're like Iron Pirate.
Shut up, Will.
That sounds like a flex to me, Maersk.
Oh God. And with that, we're gonna flex on out of here. Want to thank
This is
everybody for
flexing cool,
watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, please. It really helps us with the algorithm, and we will see you guys next time.
Yep. Hit that like button for your boys. CP from Knicks Fan TV voice.
We see you guys next time here on the
Go
Hyper Nerds
flex.
Revenge.
X fuck me proud.
God. Thanks for watching, guys.